I'd just moved into a quaint little house on the outskirts of town. It was charming, but a bit isolated, which was perfect for someone like me who loved solitude. After spending the day unpacking, I was eager to relax and settle in for my first night alone. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I lit a few candles around the living room and put on some soft music. The house creaked with every little shift in the wind, but that was to be expected. I loved the peaceful ambiance, but around midnight, a strange sensation made me uneasy. It was as if I was being watched. I tried to shake off the feeling and decided to take a shower. As the steam filled the bathroom, I heard a faint scratching noise. I poked my head out of the bathroom and listened carefully. The scratching was coming from the attic. I dismissed it as perhaps a squirrel or a branch scraping against the roof, so I went back to my shower. When I finished and wrapped myself in a towel, the scratching had stopped. Feeling more at ease, I decided to read a book in bed. Just as I was about to turn off the bedside lamp, I noticed something odd. A shadow moving across the wall that didn't align with any light source in the room. Heart pounding, I turned on all the lights in the house and checked every room. Everything seemed normal. When I got back to my bedroom, I found that my book was gone from the bedside table. I searched for it, my mind racing. It wasn't until I opened the closet that I saw it, lying on top of a pile of clothes, with a note scrawled on the first page. "I see you." I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. I spent the rest of the night sitting on the edge of my bed, eyes fixed on the closet door. I couldn't sleep a wink. Every creak and groan of the house amplified in my ears. I finally made it through the night and called a locksmith the next morning to secure the attic, though I still feel those eyes on me every time the sun sets. It was a stormy evening, and I was home alone, curled up with a good book and a hot cup of tea. The power flickered a few times, but I wasn't too worried. This was a typical occurrence during storms. Suddenly, the landline rang. I wasn't expecting any calls and let it ring a few times before picking it up. There was silence on the other end. I was about to hang up when I heard a whisper. "I'm watching you." I laughed nervously, thinking it was a prank, and hung up. But the phone rang again almost immediately. This time, when I answered, the same whisper came through, clearer. "I'm right behind you." I spun around, half expecting to see someone standing there, but the room was empty. I decided to check the house, going from room to room, but found nothing unusual. The storm continued to rage outside, adding to the eerie atmosphere. When I returned to the living room, the phone rang again. I was trembling as I picked it up. This time a voice said, "You shouldn't have looked." I slammed the receiver down and unplugged the phone. Later, when I went to bed, I found my phone replugged, the ringer turned on, and a new voicemail waiting. The message was just heavy breathing, followed by a slow, deliberate whisper. "I'm still here." I barely slept that night, and to this day, I never answer calls from unknown numbers. I had just graduated college and was finally moving into my own place, a small, cozy house I'd been saving up for. It felt like a huge step toward independence, and I was thrilled. The first few nights were everything I'd hoped for, quiet and peaceful. But as the days went by, I started to notice things. At first, it was little stuff. The sound of footsteps in the attic when I was sure no one else was home. I thought it was just the house settling, or maybe my imagination running wild. Then, items began disappearing. I'd search for my keys, my wallet, even some of my kitchen utensils. I was baffled, but I convinced myself I was just misplacing things in my new, slightly disorganized house. One night, as I was lying in bed, I heard it again, the sound of footsteps above me, pacing back and forth. My heart raced. I was alone in the house, and the attic was the only place where those sounds could come from. I'd never even been up there. The attic entrance was a pull-down ladder in the hallway, tucked away and seemingly untouched. The next day, I decided to investigate. I climbed up into the attic with a flashlight, my nerves on edge. The space was cramped and dusty, filled with old insulation and cobwebs. But there, in the corner, I found a small pile of my missing belongings. A few of my books, some kitchen gadgets, and even a photo frame. It was clear that someone had been living up here, going through my stuff. My hands were shaking as I descended the ladder. I called the police, explaining the situation and detailing my discoveries. They arrived within an hour and searched the attic. They found a makeshift sleeping area and a few personal items that didn't belong to me. The officers arrested a disheveled man who looked startled and disoriented. He admitted to living in the attic for months, using my things and sneaking out whenever he needed something. It was unsettling to think that I'd been so close to him all this time, and he'd been watching me without me ever knowing. The police assured me that he'd be charged and that I'd be safe from now on. They also recommended that I get the locks changed and the house thoroughly checked to make sure there were no more surprises. As I settled back into my home, the absence of the strange sounds was oddly comforting. But every creak and groan of the house still makes me wonder if I'm truly alone.